Hello, everyone. We are talking Mayo Munchies today. I'm also on my YouTube channel and my Instagram live. I will save it so it'll be in replay. If you have any questions as we go along, you can ask. But this is talking about the Mayo Munchies, and I talk about them a lot. Hello. They look like this if anyone's not familiar with a Mayo Munchie. And they come in different sizes. This is the bebe, and this is their small. There's a mini that sits in between them, and then there's a teen and an adult size. So the Mayo Munchie is flexible. You put it in your mouth, and it's to promote nasal breathing, jaw strength, and chewing. Okay. Um, that is what the claim is for them. I want to talk about first. Um, I want to talk about first what they are, why I like them. And so I like them because they do promote nasal breathing. Baby puts it in their mouth, even if baby has still, even if their lips can't close, they will still nasal breathe. And so that is great for practice nasal breathing, because the way we breathe is a habit, and it can be a habit turned into mouth breathing with little kids, especially those who um, are sick often, or who just learn to breathe that way. And so you have to teach them, and that becomes a different motor plan. And so this helps practice that. I also like it because it does give some input into the mouth. So babies whose tongues don't reach the palate space, if they're seeking some sort of input, this can give them a different kind of input. Um, I don't like, and it does work on jaw strength, and it works on alignment. So if the baby is, let's say there's some restriction or tension somewhere and the chin is being pulled back, this will pull it forward. Um, the key is that then they have to relax into that forward motion, because if they stay tense, and they're pulling it forward, that's only going to increase tension, right? So that's something that we have to look at. What I don't like about it is that they say it promotes proper lip and tongue function, and I don't necessarily agree with that, because there's this little piece that sits right here on all of them. It kind of curves inward, and it, for me, all I feel is the top of that curve on my tongue, and it makes me wanna push my tongue down in the middle and push out when I swallow. So, I want the tongue to be sitting up and elevated, right? And I think that, the way this inside piece sort of curves prevents that. The other thing that I don't like is that, or that I think is not necessarily true for all babies, is that when you have it in your mouth, depending on the size you get and how much tension and how much space they have in their mouth, the lips are pulling forward. Let me show you. Okay. I can relax, but that tension is what I find most of the time. And so that's not what we want it to be, right? We're increasing that lip tension. Now, is it increasing awareness for lip closure? And like I said, alignment, yes. But our goal would be for them to relax into that. And so those are just some things that I don't like. I also don't, or what you have to watch out for if you do purchase a Mayo Munchie, is that they're pretty, pieces of them are pretty thin. For all of my kids that I've ever seen use one, they usually take it out and will gnaw on them like this, at some point, and so these will rip off. So that's not supposed to be there. It's supposed to be one piece. Um, but it ripped because of how they chew. And so it's like, okay, well, I spent $75. So the other part is price. These are $75, well, 70 a piece, I think. And shipping for me to get it is $50 because they ship from Australia. Now, there are some providers, if you have providers in your area that do myofunctional therapy, that will bulk order a lot and then sell them so that you're not paying that shipping fee. But for me, it was $130 for one. And so to have to reorder another one is that's really hard for me to do. Um, and so um, I've been on the search for something that would give me the same sort of what I was looking for that I liked about the Myo Munchee. And so these are now up on my LinkedIn, not LinkedIn, my Linktree account. And they're all off of Amazon. But so this is what I've found and I would like to share. And I ordered bunches of them. And these are the closest that I found that they actually would keep in their mouth for a longer period of time, and were the most flexible. A lot of times I could find the bristles, but they weren't really flexible. And these are pretty flexible. I don't I don't think you I don't think I know. You can't get the amount of chewing and deep chewing that you do with the Myo Munchee. So I want to talk about that piece first because that's really important. The deep chewing that you can get with the Myo Munchee, because it is all silicone, so it's all mashable. All the ones that I have found have this middle piece that sits in the middle of them that's plastic, and so when you go to bite down, it's hard. So you cannot. These are not good for munching. But I don't really care because if we're working on chewing, the Myo Munchee is not what I would do to encourage that. This is not how you chew. And I certainly don't want to teach someone to chew that way because that's up and down movement. Can it build some strength? Yeah, there's other ways to do that. But for chewing, I would rather give a child a teether and some puree and have them chew and swallow. Now we're chewing and we can move our jaw in that rotary movement that we need, and we're actually swallowing something. So if you're working on chewing, I would never recommend the munchie anyway. um, and so that's a reason why you can't use this for this, but I also wouldn't use this for that kind of exercise, if that makes sense. So that works out perfect. The other thing is I was trying to find something that was small enough because a lot of times they were only for ages 2, and finally I found one that was small enough, and this one is equivalent to the Bebe size, which is amazing. Okay. And then this one is probably the size of the mini because this is their small and it's a little smaller. You can see it sits in the center of it. So this is probably the size of their mini. I would use the ones I'm going to show you for alignment purposes and input 4 and under. Um, and then I found this, which I absolutely love because I'm constantly telling you guys to use vibration with your input. This one comes with a toothbrush too with bristles on it. And so when I talk to you guys about bristle brushing, you can like take this piece out, put the bristle on, and do bristle brushing as well with vibration. Okay. Um, and so this one, I don't know if you can hear it. It vibrates and it has different like modes, medium, high, and then like some kind of it changes and then it's off. But this one is the size of what I would call the mini. Okay. So you can still get jaw alignment. You can still practice nasal breathing. Um, but you're getting, so this is actually a toothbrush. I don't know how well it would be for a toothbrush because it doesn't go all the way down to the gums. I'm not a big fan of this type of thing for a toothbrush. Um, just because I haven't seen any that go all the way down to the gums. I tried this even on my little, and it just doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't, anyway. I like it for the input of the vibration. I'm always talking about vibrating tools. And this one I saw and I got and I love. And so because it comes with that extra piece, that's the bristle brushing piece, that would be great too. So it works on alignment and it works on nasal breathing and it gives you extra input for awareness. But I would not munch on them, which we talked about that and why that's okay. And you obviously can't sleep with them. Now, I give my little, she's 2 now, that it's hard. This is plastic. All of them are plastic. I mean, you can sleep with it. And she does sleep with this one. She's smaller though. I mean, she's older. She's 2. And so what I give, I don't know. I mean, it's like a pacifier, right? I guess that's your call. These are just soft. And so maybe a little more comfortable. Have I ever had them fall asleep with them in their mouth and keep them in there? I did for my oldest. He did it like once. And he always goes to sleep with it in his mouth, and he's slept with it in his mouth the whole time one time. So obviously he can't do that with these because they all have sticks on them. This one, once you get into the small size, the Bebe and the Mini both have handles. Once you get into the small, they take the handles off. So the Myo Munchee has its place, but if you don't want to spend $130 to get one, these are options for you guys. And I was really excited to find them. And she took to them right away. Do you know if there is something similar in Ireland? I have no idea. I also, so I don't know. And I can't, so I just found these off of Amazon. I don't know how to see what you guys can purchase and what you can't purchase. So if anyone has the answer for that, people from the UK, Australia ask me all the time, can I get it over there? And I don't know how to see what you guys can purchase. I don't, is there a way that I can access that? Because I guess Amazon doesn't isn't the same everywhere, which I find crazy. I did not know that. I have a random question: how to tell the difference between hunger cues and tired cues. Um, I mean, you're looking at this has nothing to do with the munchies, but you're looking at what has happened within the day. So hunger cues and tired cues can be really similar, especially in the newborn phase. But we feed. If you would have to look at schedule and how often you're feeding. Are they getting full feeds? Things like that. Uh-oh. I did something. Okay. And I'm sorry, I'm showing you my arm. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about all of these? Feel free to ask. I was just coming on to talk about the Myo Munchies and that I found some that are similar because I talk about oral input all the time. And these are the first ones I found that I actually like. Um, Again, they're labeled as toothbrushes, but I would not use them as a toothbrush. Okay, you guys, I'm going to save this because it was just meant to come on real quickly. If you guys don't have any questions, you're welcome. And if you need support, let me know. Do you need a therapist to use one of these or okay to try on your own? It's okay to try on your own. I mean, they sell them to parents individually. The Myo Munchee does. And again, these are not, um, there's, you're not, it shouldn't be done um, like therapeutically. What I mean by that, if you're just doing it for hygiene purposes, increase input, promote nasal breathing, all of those, in my opinion, are our hygiene purposes. We don't talk enough about oral and nasal hygiene for infants and toddlers outside of brushing the teeth and the gums that they have. Um, but there's more to it than that. And so this just encourages and promotes those hygiene behaviors. In my opinion, this would not be for therapy. Um, and as part of my therapy, I don't, again, I even when I recommend the Munchee, I am only recommending it to promote nasal breathing and to get some jaw alignment for relaxation of these muscles in the neck and back of the jaw when we're pulling it forward. And so it, it's not as like to practice chewing, because I disagree with that. Um, my 2-year-old son does not eat at all except milk. I would put him in therapy. Would this help with a baby grinding teeth? Yeah, how old is your baby? What do you mean baby grinding teeth? Um, yeah, grinding teeth is seeking input or airway protection. So sometimes you'll have teeth grinding at night because they are trying to keep the airway protected for some reason. If you have some back tension or oral restriction, but if you've been cleared by ENT, they can breathe calmly through their nose, they have good airway space, then grinding to me is seeking. And some babies will do that, especially when they start getting teeth and they start to just rub them together. This would be great to start with. I would actually use the vibration one. Give them some good input. Make sure we're not carrying tension in the bottom of the tongue, so that the tongue is lifting up when it needs to be. My baby has the Bebe Munchie, which doesn't vibrate right. Should I get something different for just vibration? So she has the Bebe. If you feel like you need it, um, there's other things that you can get for vibration. I always recommend a vibrating toothbrush because I also recommend bristle brushing. And so a lot of times parents can just do two on one, right? They have the bristles on the end of the toothbrush and they can bristle brush the palate and the cheeks with the vibration or without it. And it just kind of takes care of more than one thing. But that's for babies. Like, so why do I recommend vibration sometimes? Babies who, maybe are seeking? Are they holding food? Do we need to increase awareness of their palate space? Because if we have a baby who's been keeping a low tongue posture, they sometimes they have no idea of the space in their mouth. That's called oral mapping. And so bristle brushing can increase awareness within that space. So it depends on why you think your baby might need some vibration. Does that help? Oh, does it help if your baby doesn't eat at all? I think if your baby is 2 and only drinks milk, you really need to seek a therapist. Again, this is therapeutic in terms of building good motor memory, muscle memory. Let's say that. So it's promoting nasal breathing, it's getting alignment, it's increasing some relaxation. But for therapy, um, in that situation, we need you would need more. You need way more. When to offer it? Not sure if my 2-year-old might get too attached. That's interesting. I don't know that I would have a problem if they got attached to this. In fact, I would love if my 2-year-old became attached to this rather than her finger. And so, or if you have a pacifier sucker, um, I allow them to carry their munchie everywhere. And so they'll chew on it or they'll put it in their mouth. Um, I don't see anything wrong with this in terms of building a negative habit. Um, and because they have to carry it, you usually find that they're not going to like be obsessed over it. That's interesting. You don't want them to get too attached. Can I ask why? And you can offer it whenever you want. So we do it when we do screen time. I make them put some kind of oral input in their mouth, usually because their mouth will pop open because they're so hyper focused on what's going on the screen. Um, and we do it before bed. They all get their munchie before bed, and usually they just keep it in for a little bit and then spit it out. If low tone is the cause, would something like this help until therapy starts? Yes. So with low tone, we need to work on strength. Now, the real munchie can work on strength if they're chewing on it, but you could also just get a silicone teether, put it all the way to the back, work on strength in chewing. And then get this, and what we will be working on would be like the mouth closure for nasal breathing, because a lot of our low tone babies just have that open mouth posture. They're floppy, right? And so this helps sort of give them some more input and can help with that for sure. My baby is 1 and he's eating solids but isn't super efficient with chewing. Is there something specific you would recommend? Um, uh, so 1, yeah, I would work on your teethers. Um, but the key to that would be you can also work on hard munchables. So the goal, if you're working on from a feeding perspective, so outside of breathing, we're working on feeding perspective. We want to be chewing and swallowing because that is the function, right? And so it doesn't do them any good to practice chewing in isolation if they're not for feeding purposes, if they're not swallowing. If we're working on chewing in isolation because we have a low tone baby and we're just trying to increase some strength to promote the nasal breathing, maybe we're working on chewing because we want to get more tongue movement. Those are all different things. But if you're working on munching for swallowing for eating, then we need to put something on there that they can chew and then swallow. And so if you're going to use a teether or a silicone spoon or a raw veggie, which are great, you're going to put some puree on the tray and they're going to dip and then chew. And then because there's puree, the tongue will get moving, they'll start mapping their mouth and they get a swallow. So now we're combining the two movements, if that makes sense. You can also give them, if you give them harder things. So depending on what you're on in your steps or what you feel comfortable with, that's where a therapist would help, because they can help like see where you're at and then build from there. So I would need to see where you're at and then give you ways to build it. But silicone spoons, teethers, raw veggies are great to dip in puree. Can you link the teether? All of the teethers all the stuff that I like is in my um, link tree, which is in my bio. Okay, you guys. Any more questions? This will be posted. And I hope it was helpful. I have looked everywhere for something that was at least similar to the Munchee because I love it to promote that nasal breathing and relaxed facial posture. And so I'm excited that I found them. I hope you guys are excited too. And I will see you guys later. You are welcome. Bye.